Class 11th, Subject Physics, 7th chapter, Thermal Properties of Matter. Thermal Properties of Matter. From the chapter, let us see thermal resistance. Thermal resistance denoted by RT. We know that the conduction rate, that is P conduction, is the amount of heat energy transferred per unit time through a slab of area A and thickness X when the two sides of the slab are at the temperatures T1 and T2 such that T1 is greater than T2. That means if the two opposite sides of a slab are maintained at the temperatures T1 and T2 such that T1 is greater than T2, then the conduction rate, that is P conduction, is the amount of heat transferred per unit time through a slab of area A and thickness X, and therefore the conduction rate P conduction is given by the formula Q upon T equal to Ka into T1 minus T2 upon X. Since the amount of heat energy conducted Q is given as Q equal to Ka T1 minus T2 into this T upon X, and therefore conduction rate, that is P conduction, equal to Ka into T1 minus T2 upon X as equation number 1. Therefore, we can say that the amount of heat conducted per unit time through that slab of area A and thickness X, the constant K, that is which is called as coefficient of thermal conductivity, depends upon the material of the slab. So from this formula K, that is the coefficient of thermal conductivity, and it depends upon the material of the slab. The material that readily transfers heat energy by conduction is called as good thermal conductor. If any material conducts heat energy readily through it, then that material is called as the good conductor or the thermal conductor, so that it has high value of coefficient of thermal conductivity K. So the material through which heat energy is transferred readily, such type of material is called as good thermal conductor, and it will be having high coefficient of thermal conductivity K. The opposition of a body to the flow of heat through it by conduction is called as the thermal resistance. The opposition of a body to the flow of heat through it is called as thermal resistance. The greater the thermal conductivity of any material, the smaller is the thermal resistance, and vice versa. That means if the materials are having greater conductivity, they will be having smaller thermal resistance. On the other hand, if smaller is the conductivity of any material, then the greater will be its thermal resistance, and therefore the bad thermal conductors are having high thermal resistance. The bad thermal conductors are having high thermal resistance, and therefore from this first equation, from equation number 1, we can write thermal resistance, that is T1 minus T2 upon P conduction. T1 minus T2 upon P conduction will be equal to X upon Ka. So from this first formula, T1 minus T2 upon this P conduction will be equal to X upon Ka. It is X upon Ka, equation number 2, and therefore the thermal resistance of that material RT will be equal to X upon Ka. X upon Ka. Now from this, the SI unit of this thermal resistance RT, SI unit of RT will be given as degree Celsius second per joule. degree Celsius second per joule or degree Celsius second per kilocalorie. Degree Celsius second per kilocalorie. This will be the unit in terms of energy. If that thermal energy is considered as energy, and this will be the unit if that thermal energy is considered as heat. And then its dimensions are, the dimensions of RT, that is thermal resistance, will be given as -2 in length, -1 in mass, -3 in length and 1 in K. -2 in length, -1 in mass, -3 in length and 1 in K. Now, if we consider the reciprocal of the coefficient of thermal conductivity K, then that reciprocal is called as the thermal resistivity, and therefore thermal resistivity, that is rho T, will be equal to 1 by K. That is reciprocal of thermal conductivity K will be equal to this thermal resistivity rho T. So this will be regarding thermal resistance RT. And now let us see some of the applications of thermal conductivity. Applications of thermal conductivity. The first application is cooking utensils are made up of metals. The cooking utensils are made up of metals and their handles are made up of bad conductors. So if you consider the cooking pots or cooking utensils, then they are always made up of metals, so that heat energy will be conducted to it for the cooking purpose. But in order to touch these vessels or the utensils, their handles are always made up with the help of bad conductors of heat, so that these cooking utensils will be handled properly. Then second use is thick walls are used in the construction of cold storage rooms. So while constructing the cold storage rooms, their walls are kept very thick. Now for the construction of these walls of that storage room, generally the bricks are used. So if you consider the brick, then this brick is bad conductor of heat. Brick is bad conductor of heat, so that it reduces the flow of heat from the surrounding into the room. So no heat energy will be entering from the surrounding to the storage room, because the bricks which are used for the construction of thick walls of that storage room are bad conductors of heat. Then the third use is to prevent the ice from melting. To prevent the ice from melting, it is wrapped in a gunny bag. So generally, in order to prevent the ice from melting, it will be always wrapped in a gunny bag. The reason behind it will be that a gunny bag is the poor conductor of heat. Gunny bag is the poor conductor of heat, and it reduces the heat flow from outside to the ice. Similarly, the air filled in the interspaces, that is between the threads of that gunny bag, being bad conductor of heat, avoids the conduction of heat from the outside, as the air filled between the threads, that is interspaces of the gunny bag, acts as the bad conductor of heat, and therefore it will avoid the conduction of heat from outside. So these are some of the applications of the thermal conductivity. Now there is a disadvantage of the low thermal conductivity. There is a disadvantage of low thermal conductivity. When hot water is poured in a glass beaker, it cracks. So when hot water is poured in a glass beaker, then that beaker will crack. Since when hot water is poured into the beaker, its inner surface will only expand due to the heat energy supplied by hot water and not the outer surface. And due to the expansion of only the inner surface, due to the thermal energy supplied, it will crack. So in this way there is a disadvantage of the low thermal conductivity. And now let us see the next mode of transfer of heat, that is second mode of transfer of heat, that is convection. Convection of heat. Convection of heat. Now what is that convection? The process by which the heat is transferred through a substance from a point at higher temperature to a point at lower temperature due to the actual bodily movement of the heated particles of the substance is called as convection. The process by which the heat is transferred through a substance from a point at higher temperature to a point at lower temperature due to the actually bodily movement of the heated particles of that substance is called as convection. That means, for example, water gets heated due to the bodily movement of its particles, and therefore heating of water is due to the convection. Similarly, the winds blow. So blowing of winds is also due to the convection. That is, convectional currents are produced in water as well as air, and therefore heat will be transferred through water as well as air due to the convection. Now let us see some of the applications of convection. So let us see some of the applications of convection, and these are: first one, that is heating and cooling of the rooms. So heating as well as cooling of rooms. So in order to keep the proper temperature of the rooms during summer as well as winter, so that process will be carried on for heating and cooling of that rooms with the help of convection. And therefore if we consider first use, that is heating and cooling of rooms, then we can say that the heating of room by a heater is based on convection. So convection will take place during the heating of the room. In this process, the air molecules in contact with the heater are heated up. These molecules acquire sufficient energy and rise upwards. So those molecules of the air which are close to the heater will get heated first. Then these molecules will acquire sufficient energy so that they will move upwards. They will rise upwards. Then the cool air at the top, being denser, moves down. The cool air which is at the top will be having more density, and therefore it will move down. This cool air in turn gets then heated, and again it will move upwards. So in this way the convection currents are set up in the room which transfers heat to different parts of the room. So air will get heated due to the heater, it will become lighter, it will go up, its place will be taken by the cold air, again it will get heated, and then it will move up. In this way the convectional currents will be produced in the room, and that room will get heated. So that we can say that the same principle but in the reverse direction is used to cool a room by the air conditioner. So opposite to that of the heater, the air conditioner will be working so as to cool that room. So this will be the first application. Second application is cooling of transformer. So in case of transformers, the cooling process is very important, and therefore due to current flowing through the windings of the transformer, the continuous heat is produced. So in case of transformer, there will be windings on the primary as well as secondary coil. Due to the current flowing through these windings of the primary and secondary coils in that transformer, the continuous heat will be produced. So that heat will be produced due to heating effect of electric current. So when the currents are flowing through the windings of primary and secondary of the transformer, at that time, due to the heating effect of electric current, the large amount of heat will be produced in the transformer. Therefore, transformer is always kept in a tank containing oil, because that oil will absorb heat energy, and therefore the transformer is always kept in tank containing oil. The oil in contact with the transformer body heats up. The oil which is in contact with the transformer body will get heated up and creating convection currents. Then warm oil comes in contact with the cooler part of the tank, gives heat energy to it and goes to the bottom. So it again warms up to rise upward, and then this process is repeated again and again, and the heat of the transformer body is thus then carried away by the convection to the cooler part, and therefore the cooler tank in turn loses its heat energy by convection to the surrounding air, so that heat energy will be given out to the surrounding, and hence there will be cooling of transformer. So these are the applications of the convection. And now let us see what is free and forced convection. What is the meaning of free convection and forced convection? So when a hot body is in contact with air, when any hot body is in contact with air under ordinary conditions, the air removes heat energy from the body by the process of free or natural convection. That means if the heat energy is removed from the body by the process at ordinary conditions, under ordinary conditions, then that process is called as free or the natural convection. That is, when a body is in contact with the air under ordinary, that is normal conditions, then the air removes heat energy from the body by the process which is called as free or natural convection. For example, the formation of land and sea bridges. So land and sea bridges are formed under normal conditions, and therefore this will be an example of the free or natural convection. On the other hand, when the convection process is accelerated by employing a fan to create a rapid conduction of fresh air, is called as the forced convection. When the convection process is accelerated by employing a fan to create a rapid convection of fresh air, is called as forced convection. That means if that convection is accelerated artificially, then it will be the forced acceleration, that is forced convection. And then if you consider the example of this, that is heat convector, air conditioners, as well as heat radiators in IC engines. Heat radiators in IC engines are the examples of forced convection. That is, in case of free convection, that convection will take place under ordinary condition, that is naturally it will take place, while in case of forced convection, it will be accelerated by using any external agency. Some external agency like a fan will be used to carry out this convection. So such type of convection will be forced convection. So like this, free convection and forced convection are the two types of convection.